The grand hall of Valaris glittered with crystal light as alien nobles gathered in silence. High above, banners of black and silver stretched from pillar to pillar, each marked with the sigil of the proud warrior empire. For centuries, the Valari had ruled by strength. Their soldiers were bred for war. Their generals carved legends into history with blade and fire. And now, on this night, their empire stood bound to an unfamiliar race: humanity. The symbol of this new alliance was not an army or a treaty signed with blood, but a marriage. Princess Kalira, daughter of the Emperor, sworn warrior of the flame, was to take a human as her husband. To the Valari nobles, the decision was nothing short of disgrace. When Ignis walked into the chamber, whispers rippled across the court. He was not like the towering warriors around him. His frame was lean, not broad. His skin was soft, lacking the faint silver glow of Valari flesh. His hair was dark, his movements quiet. There was no battle mark on his body, no scent of iron or blood. "Is this the one?" someone murmured. "The Emperor binds our princess to a prey creature?" Kalira herself stood in silence beside him, her expression calm but her mind restless. She had expected at least a warrior of humankind, someone who might try to match her in combat spirit. Instead, she had been given this man, this Ignis, who carried himself as though the world were not his concern. His gaze was soft, his shoulders relaxed, and even his voice, when he greeted the court, was gentle. "I am honored," he said simply. Bowing his head, no one bowed back. Life in the Shadows days passed, and the union was made official. Kalira lived with Ignis in a palace wing, meant for their new household. To the outside world, they were husband and wife, a symbol of peace. But inside, Kalira felt as though she lived with a shadow. Ignis did not boast, nor did he attempt to prove his strength. While Valari warriors trained in the courtyard, their weapons clashing like thunder, Ignis spent his time reading human texts or quietly observing the world around him. He asked questions, endless questions, about Valari culture, their customs, their wars. He listened more than he spoke, and when he did speak, his words were careful, almost too careful. Kalira tolerated him. She had no desire to be cruel, but she could not understand him. "Why do you not train?" she asked once, watching him in their chambers. "Do humans not value strength?" Ignis only smiled faintly. "Strength takes many forms, Kalira. Not all of them can be seen with the eye." His answer left her unsettled. Among her people, strength was clear and simple, measured by the weight of one's blade or the scars upon one's flesh. What strength could this man possess? Yet there were small moments that gnawed at her certainty. Once, when a servant carrying a tray slipped on polished stone, Ignis moved faster than her eyes could follow, catching both the servant and the tray before either struck the floor. Another time, during a formal gathering, he whispered a warning into her ear seconds before a hidden knife was revealed beneath a rival noble's sleeve. Each time, Kalira told herself it was chance, coincidence, nothing more. The shattered courtroom. It was during the Festival of Blades that the truth began to break through. The Emperor's court gathered in the great ceremonial chamber, where warriors displayed their skill before the throne. Kalira stood proudly among them, armored in her silver battle plate, her husband seated a step behind her. But then the doors burst open. Armed rebels stormed inside, their armor painted with crimson marks of betrayal. They shouted for the Emperor's death, declaring the treaty with humans a disgrace to Valari blood. The hall erupted in chaos as soldiers clashed with the traitors. Kalira leapt forward, blades drawn, her heart fierce with battle fire. She fought with skill and fury, cutting down one attacker, then another. Yet these rebels carried weapons unlike any she had seen. Illegal tech stolen from the Empire's darkest vaults. Energy bursts ripped through shields, shattering stone and steel alike. Even Kalira found herself pushed back. Her shield cracked, her arm burned, and still the rebels came. One leveled a glowing rifle at her chest. And then Ignis moved. A glimpse of the hidden power. The quiet man who had stood like an afterthought now stepped into the heart of the battle. His eyes no longer held softness. They burned with a strange fire, bright and endless, like the heart of a star hidden behind human flesh. When the rifle fired, the energy burst never reached its target. It bent, it twisted. It collapsed into nothingness as though space itself had swallowed it whole. The rebels faltered, staring in horror. Ignis raised his hand, and the weapons of his enemies crumpled as though crushed by invisible weight. Metal groaned, twisted, and fell in shards to the floor. Those who still stood felt pressure slam into their chests, forcing them to their knees. The hall fell silent but for the echoes of bending steel. Kalira froze. Her breath caught in her throat as she watched her husband, this gentle, fragile human, stand at the center of the battlefield, untouched. His voice when he spoke was soft but carried through the chamber like thunder. "I did not come here as prey," he said. "I came as a guardian." The rebels gasped for air, their bodies pinned by invisible force. One by one they collapsed unconscious, their rebellion crushed without a single blade lifted against them. Ignis lowered his hand, and the burning in his eyes faded. The hall remained still, warriors and nobles alike staring in awe and fear. Kalira could not speak. She could only look at him, her mind torn between disbelief and wonder. Who was this man she had dismissed as weak? What power did humanity truly hide? Ignis turned toward her then, his expression calm once more, as though nothing extraordinary had occurred. "Are you hurt?" he asked, his voice quiet again. She shook her head, still stunned. "No, but what are you?" He only smiled faintly, as he always did, and gave no answer. The court would never see him the same again. Neither would Kalira, and in her heart, for the first time, she felt something she had never felt toward a human: fear and awe. The palace of Valaris had not known silence like this in centuries. Days had passed since the coup attempt, yet the memory of that night still clung to its walls. Nobles whispered in hidden corners, soldiers spoke in uncertain tones, and rumors traveled faster than any messenger ship. All of them spoke of the same thing: not the bravery of the guards, not the skill of Princess Kalira, but the quiet human, the one called Ignis. He had broken the rebellion without lifting a sword. He had crushed weapons into dust with nothing but his will, and he had done it with calm eyes and a steady hand, as though the act had cost him no effort at all. To the Valari, this was both wonder and terror. If one human could do this, what power did their species truly hide? The princess's questions, Kalira had not stopped thinking of it since that night. She had married Ignis believing him weak. She had accepted him out of duty, not desire. But now every memory of him, every quiet word, every calm glance seemed to hold new weight. Had she been blind all along? At last, she confronted him. It was late evening when she found him in their chamber, standing by the high balcony, looking out at the endless stars. The city below glowed with silver towers and drifting lights, but Ignis seemed lost beyond them, staring into the void. "Why did you hide this from me?" Kalira demanded. Ignis turned his head, his expression as calm as ever. "What would you have done if I had shown you sooner?" Her fists tightened at her sides. "I would not have treated you like a fragile shadow. I would have understood." He gave her a faint smile. "Would you? Or would you have feared me as the others do now?" Kalira opened her mouth, then stopped. She remembered the way the nobles had looked at him after the battle, not with respect, but with trembling fear. She remembered her own heart, hammering in her chest, not from the enemy's weapons, but from her husband's strange, impossible power. "What are you, Ignis?" she whispered. For a moment he was silent. Then he turned back toward the stars. "I am human." That is enough of an answer. The spark in the days that followed, Kalira pressed him for more. Slowly, piece by piece, Ignis revealed the truth. Humanity, he explained, was not weaker than other races. They had always been underestimated because their bodies were softer, their lifespans shorter, their worlds less advanced. But within them burned something no other species had, a hidden energy born from will and imagination. "We call it the spark," Ignis said. "It is not in every human, and not all can awaken it. But when it rises, it can reshape the world." Kalira listened in awe. Among the Valari, strength was decided at birth, bloodline, muscle, skill. But this spark was different. It was not bred. It was not measured. It came from something deeper, something unseen. "It cannot be forced," Ignis told her. "It awakens when we are pushed beyond limits, when our spirit refuses to break." Kalira found herself staring at him as though seeing him for the first time. She, a warrior princess raised to respect only physical might, had married a man who carried within him the strength of stars. The Emperor's challenge word of Ignis's power soon reached the throne itself. Emperor Valar, father of Kalira, was not a man to be ruled by rumor. He summoned his daughter and her husband before the court. The hall was filled with nobles, warriors, and generals. Their eyes burned with doubt, jealousy, and fear. "I have heard," the emperor said, his deep voice echoing through the chamber, "that the human consort crushed an armed rebellion with powers unseen. If this is truth, then let it be shown before the empire." Kalira tensed, knowing what her father intended. The emperor was no fool. He feared placing blind trust in an unknown force. He wished to test Ignis, to measure him, to see if humanity's strength was real. Ignis only bowed his head. "As you wish." The trial of the throne. The trial was held in the grand arena where warriors once proved themselves in combat. Thousands of eyes watched from the stands. The emperor spoke. "Ignis of Earth, show us your strength. Not in slaughter, but in control. Power without discipline is chaos, and chaos has no place in this empire." At his signal, war machines were brought forth, titanic constructs of steel, weapons glowing with energy. These machines were designed to crush armies, to bring cities to ruin. Against them, a single human seemed laughable. The crowd roared with expectation, many certain that the human would fail. Ignis stepped into the arena alone. He raised his hand and silence fell. The first machine charged, heavy legs shaking the ground. Ignis did not move. The instant before its weapon fired, the metal shrieked and bent. In seconds, the machine collapsed, its body folding inward as though crushed by invisible hands. Gasps filled the arena. The second machine fired volleys of plasma. The shots never reached him. They bent around his body, curving harmlessly into the ground, leaving him untouched. A third machine advanced, its blade arm swinging. Ignis raised his eyes and the blade shattered into dust. The entire construct fell piece by piece, gently lowered to the ground as though guided by unseen strings. And then Ignis stopped. He could have destroyed them all. He could have reduced the machines to ashes. But instead he left them broken yet intact, proof not only of power but of restraint. The crowd was silent. "I do not come to conquer," Ignis said, his voice carrying through the arena. "Humanity's strength is not in destruction. It is in becoming more than what others believe we are. That is what makes us dangerous. That is what makes us human." A union of equals, the emperor rose slowly from his throne. His eyes, sharp as steel, studied the man before him. For a long moment, no one dared to breathe. Then at last the emperor nodded. "Power with discipline, strength with purpose. You are not prey-human. You are fire." The crowd erupted in voices, some cheering, some fearful, but none denying what they had witnessed. Ignis had shown them that humanity was not weak. Humanity was a force the galaxy could no longer ignore. Kalira stepped forward, her heart pounding. She had once pitied her husband. Now she saw him for what he was, not just a protector but a partner, one whose spirit burned brighter than any warrior's blade. Before all the empire, she took his hand. Her voice was steady, filled with pride. "You are not weak, Ignis, you are human, and that is greater than any title." Ignis looked at her, his calm smile returning at last. "Then we walk forward together. The dawn of a new future." The story of that day spread across stars. For the first time, humanity was not dismissed as fragile. For the first time, other races looked at Earth and wondered what hidden sparks might lie in every human heart. And in the palace of Valaris, a marriage born of politics became something far greater. A bond of equals, a bridge between species, and a warning to all who underestimated the fire of humankind. Because where one human had revealed his spark, countless others might yet awaken.